finished a little bit better than it started, but it still is a loss for Shopify Rebellion as they go down 13-8 to G2 in map number 1. Welcome back to the Knights Arena Valorant Challengers North America desk as we close out our final match here for the first split, and it's G2 who strike first. Although, I'm honest, Sully, that could have been so much worse. It was 10-2 at one point. It looked like they were going to crush Shopify.
Yeah, and I was looking at the first half, I was like, dude, I don't know what Shopify are doing. It felt like at times they didn't exactly have a game plan going through. Again, a lot of the exits that I felt we saw from Shopify were based off of just contact plays and mid-round switch-ups, mid-exits with no map control. So I think the way it started was really rough, but honestly, I think we saw a glimmer of hope from Shopify in the second half. Fingers crossed we can see a little bit more on Split. But I still think G2, throughout that game, relatively had full control of everything going on, but at times felt maybe a little bit mishap, especially in that second half.
Important to note here too, Upmind, this was Shopify's pick. So if you had confidence in Shopify to find the win, it needed to start here on Icebox. Now they move to Split, which is going to be our second map in the series. It certainly looks disastrous, and you can just see like some of the performance from the members of G2 as well, like Oxy, Gus. I mean, Oxy's doing Oxy things, looking strong on the jet roll.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I said before, it was a little bit of a playground type game for them, especially in the first half. That it was just the obvious like double op setup, right? But no, still, I think that Shopify going into a map where, again, they hadn't played it this season, I think that was realistically the best that they could expect, because sure, they would have liked a better first half, and the fight that they ended up putting up in the second half was kind of worthwhile. But again, this game is just one big test for them. They're not actually playing for any sort of solid stakes when it comes to qualifying for anything. Yes, they would like circuit points, but it's only about a difference of about 3, maybe 2. Again, any positive that these individuals can get is big, because again, some of these guys, they aren't just fighting for their team, they're kind of fighting for careers and jobs right now.
Ooh, that's harsh to say, because yeah, it is true for a lot of these Shopify guys.
Am I wrong?
No, not at all. And I think one thing that you're looking at for Shopify is, yeah, a lot of these guys are playing for the rest of Split 1 and Split 2, or apologies, playing for the rest of Challengers in general. So I think we saw glimmers of hope from these guys. A lot of heat-ups in the second half, a lot of slowdowns, in my opinion, in the second half, particularly for Moxie, who only got 3 kills in that second half, going 16 kills in that first half, and not finding much success. So I think there's hope for Shopify going into this second map Split. I think there's a lot of it? Probably not, but still, I think what we saw in the second half is enough for me to say maybe there's a chance where we get a competitive second map. I don't think they're going to win the series, but, you know, maybe we get something out of them going into map 2.
You talk about the series, you talk about the maps. Let's take a look at the maps just so we can remind ourselves where we might end up if we make it to that third and final map. We've already been saying it. Split is our second map in the series. That is G2's pick. And it's not terribly surprising. They seem to be pretty fond of the map, at least across the last couple of weeks. The third map is an interesting one in that it's Lotus, and again, like I feel like every week we watch the map, the meta shifts because it's still being developed, at least at this level of play, as teams figure out new ways to approach the map. New agent pools even come into play, as we saw earlier today with the pick of Harbor for the side of Turtle Troop. So there is maybe a world, maybe, if we're looking for like pie in the sky, rose-colored glasses, there is maybe a world where Shopify can force a third map. But based on the way that second map or that first map started, I just have low expectations here, Gus.
Yeah, again, to me, it's more the fact that this team had actually floated Icebox the entire season. Icebox had always been a pick that Shopify was at least some sort of confident in, and they finally got the opportunity to play it today. It's just that they had no opportunity to kind of refine it against maybe just in an official. Of course, they have scrim experience, all of that. But I would like to think that a lot of the teams in the last few weeks, especially when it comes to maps like Lotus, where they're able to make that first mistake, able to get on the map and just see that their composition really isn't that good just in form, or some players just aren't that comfortable in an official form. So again, not a new map for Lotus. At least Shopify would have more of a chance. It's their third time playing it, and the last time they played it, 11-13.
Well, it's going to be Split first. We'll focus on Lotus later today, but we're going to Split, which means it's my time to split. Take it away.
Yeah, Agent Select here on the second, could be the final map Split for Shopify. G2, it's their map pick. Gus, we've seen them play it before. They looked really, really good on the one map Split that we did get to see them play. And honestly, Shopify, it's a new pick for them. New map. We're going to see what they have for us.
Excited to see it because, again, G2, they're the ones that have played this map. They're the ones that have, at least once the map came out 2 weeks ago, they're the ones that kind of jumped the gun and at least leaving it and at least floating it in their pool. And they came out of the gates flying. 13-4 win over Oxygen. And Oxygen, as a team on Split, they were actually able to really bounce back on the map the week after. They ended up getting 13-9 against FaZe Clan. And today, we just saw them actually beat Turtletube 13-9 also on Split. So G2 facing a team that is actually pretty solid on Split. I think them alone, they come into this game a little bit more confident than Shopify.
I think you come into this game more confident than Shopify no matter what.
No matter what,
right? Mid-season face-off. G2 have good map experience. We know that this team has been prepping for Split. So I'm interested to see if Shopify really have any competitive game here. They start on the defense. G2 are going to ramp themselves over towards the B side where there's going to be 1 player, 2 players in a quick rotation, nade for Mata, and a slow as well to greet them. So a nice combo coming up.
Dapper has been making this mid-lurk the entire time. It's more that lucky. Dazzle hasn't actually peeked him out. Whippy does randomly get a kill back over towards B main. This mid position, again, can't actually lead anywhere. They have isolated the spot entirely. They are more or less in the know that G2 are kind of baiting them into the picks. I mean, gosh, Whippy waiting that long at the beginning of B main. This is actually already forcing the rotation from Shopify. This should be, at least for G2, a bit more of a burst out onto A. But I was going to say that with the double satchel, end up utilizing one of the satchels is just a little bit easier of a site for you to be able to kind of scale into from heaven. That's exactly what they do. Just the 1 satchel plus the double, triple waterfall out. More than enough for them to make it through. They see the wall go down. Plant is down. Welcome back now into 4v3. It's going to be Shazam playing around Bill or B-Dog, Bruce, Dazzle, all going down. But I mean, come on, Shopify. They didn't have any sort of split option. They try to come out of their spawn. They try to waterfall out. But again, the waterfall had no sort of support. Jumping in dry.
Jumping in dry into the east site. G2. Pick up 4 Spectres. Whippy's not going to go for the Bulldog. This is G2 that we know that Oxy's better side is traditionally attack. He doesn't put up the best numbers when it comes to the defense. So I kind of expect more or less the same from Icebox. And what we saw when the one time G2 did play as their attacking side was the more prolific side. So get a good start here. Even if you have a rough defense, you have enough rounds to close out, which is what happened on Icebox, which typically happens to this G2 roster. Oxy up close, yeah. One guy that you are looking to maintain his form throughout the map. Starting off pretty nice. Him and Dapper both had a really good first map, and you know, it's nice to see them both getting the 5 kills here in the Investor Flawless.
That's just the credit being gained back for the old points. But again, Oxy, again, we really want to see if really the Raze is a comfortable agent for him, because we've seen the pop-up performances from him very early on in the season. Well, later on, as the Raze pick ended up getting phased out, kind of saw those stats start to pop off once again. Currently 4-1, no deaths. But I'm more surprised that he didn't actually go up with a double satchel, actually try to get some early map control. They scale up to heaven instead. Dazzle with an easy kill around the corner, make it a second. Oxy finally comes around, but he was getting prepared for a satchel setup from heaven. Finally, a second one from Oxy. Oxy can continue to pop off. 1v1 in the middle of sight, but Moose just takes him down.
Dazzle, huge double, puts it onto Shazam here with Oxy going down. And I think Oxy wanted to try and blast back deep into sight. wasn't given that chance. Now Shazam, 1v1, doesn't win it against Vic. First round picked up here for Shopify in their full rifle round. Bonus there for G2, but Azel coming up huge with his two-piece. Pressure on to G2 to try and respond. And I think Oxy had something cooking. With the players going down, wasn't really given that chance to.
One enemy remaining.
It's just tough again that once they end up actually getting that heaven control, not able to get any sort of positioning in the middle of sight whatsoever, they were pretty much forced to just commit that Oxy trade. But now that we're even on rifles, again, Shopify maintaining more or less the same mentality from the last 2 rounds. Not too many early peaks.
One off of his showstopper. He's going to try and grab this. He will get it online, so now another threat here. But look at the double trip setup. I think Moose was kind of expecting maybe a blast pack play. So he's got a double trip setup that will catch Oxy for sure.
No Trailblazer currently. Would just have to go out with a guiding light, if anything. But they already utilized the guiding light.
They're trying to, I think they're trying to fake the B main approach here, but Mata's pretty wary to it. Moose already sees the feed of him.
Cage triggered.
Oh, the call is there. Moose peeks out. But with the cage, not able to actually get any sort of pixels that he wanted. But look over towards A main.
They know where Oxy is here. Dazzle gets full control of A here. They know this is going to be a B hit. It's a split from E Heaven. Nade, Gravwell, what's the play here? Oxy's up top with the showstopper.
Oxy just goes through, and actually Mata, he's the one that ends up going down for it. They're still looking for a trip frag. Dapper trying to get a kill through the smoke. As again, Moose would always be waiting there around the corner for the cage. Doesn't happen though. Shopify, this retake is so difficult.
It's coming from multiple positions. They know mid is clear just due to the Seekers. The positionings that G2 have taken are very strong post-plant spots.
But it's actually double pillar. So many angles here for Shopify. They are able to get one, and it's only one here in the middle of pillar. Penny goes down, only one in the back of sight. Shazam in a crossfire with a player in main. Here we go, player in main, player in heaven. Whippy with a big peek, only able to get one, and Dapper can't get anything. Diffuse will go down.
Oh, just enough time. A second left there for the defuse. But that was a perfect retake from Shopify. Dismantling first the pillar, the flashes to isolate the fight on pillar. And I think the smoke towards B main, keeping Whippy out of the fight where he can help support his teammates. I think that was a big key there. Because you can swing just from in between pillar and B main. And with one flash, you catch 3 players blind. Nobody there on your backside. You can full face the 3 players. And Shopify tying things up off of a really nice post plant. Putting G2 on the back foot. Lesser guns. Shopify, we expected something from the meta split. I think right now, it's a lot more than I was looking for. And we're only 4 rounds in and I'm saying that.
I would hold back if it anything, but yeah, I guess so.
Gotta take the lead here in a second too.
I guess so. I mean, they have the right idea already in this round. For G2, they battle so much for that mid side, and Shopify deny everything for them. They put up the attention over towards heaven and the sage wall up mid.
But now they know off the barrel theft where these 4 players are going to be. They're just going to try and let out here. Maybe another waterfall attempt from G2, but there's not much in the cards for them.
What is the creativity here? I'm trying to think.
Maybe
at least in a line of thought for Shazam.
We tend to die.
They will send one. Dapper's going to be the one to work in towards spawn.
30 seconds
Doesn't get the
left.
kill, but at least gets a tag, so I guess there's a little bit of damage done. But otherwise, not much here written for G2. And Shopify making another round look very, very simple.
Again, big thing that we're waiting up for at this point, G2. We haven't seen any sort of credible threat in the early round. In terms of the first take, Play that they tried to make over towards A faltered completely. The B split. It got caught early. Mid take, of course, was just with pistols, but now G2, now that they have rifles, I'm not exactly seeing some of that, I guess you could say, imagination from them.
A lot of backs away from the guiding light. The Trailblazer reveals him anyway. This is going to be G2 taking immediate control here of mid. Dapper's even broken the wall towards A, so I think this will end in a split here, depending what Dapper can find. If maybe Whippy finds anything towards B, we could swing back. But for now, this is G2 putting pressure towards Elevator and forcing response at a Shopify, which is a rotate towards the B site.
I mean, the craziest thing is that Mata, he was the one that was in heaven. How does Mata get that sort of contact in Elevator, and his intuition is to go back to B?
And it might be right here as well.
This is a hard read.
This could spell doom here. Mata's right beneath him as well. Him and Dazzle played a high-low setup in a very untraditional style.
Yeah, it's very difficult, especially if Dazzle is peeking out a bit too deep. Mata can't actually get a trade, but actually technically he did. Ends up getting the nade frag. Oxy pulling up, taking away Mata, and more importantly, taking away the anchor Vic. Two players now remaining for Shopify, but for G2, was it really that complicated?
No, honestly, not at all. One kill, kind of funneling everyone on the site, forcing, I think it was Mata to back away, try and play with Vic, and then in G2, simple stuff is just winning your gunfights, and that's what they did here. Now it's about these two players saving their guns. You're G2, you're not hunting, there's no point in hunting, you don't have cash to hunt for. Shopify would be able to buy regardless in the next round, so they're going to let these two players save their guns. Cosmic Divide for Whippy moving forward. Maybe we see that get used in an A hit or a B hit. But G2 will tie us back up here. And Shopify, for everything that they have to play for, which honestly isn't too much besides points, are putting up quite the fight against G2 on this second map. We're only 6 rounds in, but they have good setups from what we're seeing. They're really shutting down G2 with map control.
What happens when they don't actually succeed in taking that map control? When the battle for mid doesn't go well? When they end up conceding it and needing to hold on to site? Looked like G2 didn't have too much trouble again. Making their way into B, making their way into heaven. I guess at this point, that's just the point of contention here for Shopify. How can they adjust now to at least trying to fight the first contact of G2, make them readjust?
It's a pretty heavy mid look again from Shopify. B-Dog once more, establishing a main control, getting onto the orb. There's no trade. There's no trade. I think Vic bit off more than he could chew. He had a mid-spray transfer thinking he got the kill into Oxy. Or maybe it was Penny.
Yeah. Just a little bit. That's so unfortunate, Vic. Those are the types of situations where, I mean, if he stays alive, he's able to cover B here.
If he trades, we're in a pretty good spot here for Shopify. Now in this retake, Dapper's still on the lurk, and they're not going to expect him. Moose is still just chilling on the cam. This is another save from Shopify. There's not much to play for here whatsoever.
So as Shopify stays away, it's not going to be too bad of an outlook for the rest of this half. I mean, at this point, you're really just focusing up on that economy game for the next 3 rounds. You're essentially going to have a bye, no matter if they lose or not. The loss bonus should be good enough whenever they end up reaching that second loss.
Plenty of money for Shopify. They saved, what, 2 players from the round before that round? So they've saved a total of 5 guns within 2 rounds. Shopify calling a timeout. I don't know if there's any glaring mistakes they've been making. G2 have only had 2 successful rounds. I think one of them comes in the form of, well, particularly that last round, a big mid fight being won out there by G2. So Shopify maybe trying to collect themselves, see any patterns between those 2 rounds, try and fix up the defense. But I don't think there's any glaring issues with Shopify's defense right now. It's just the gunfights being won by G2 at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, that one individual mistake from Vic was the thing that broke it down. And it was the same thing the round before where G2, they were just able to scale up 1v1s. And if you're not able to win those 1v1s, then that's simply it. I mean, nothing more that you can really say for Shopify in terms of their structure. It doesn't seem like, you know, they have the wrong idea. Again, it's not like they're pressuring G2 to make moves that they don't want to make. G2 are still very much going on their merry way, going to the site that they had chosen already from the beginning of the round.
We saw this earlier in the day. The Astra on top of the double stack.
It came up big.
Play that I always think about is Vanity sitting up top here. So, and there's a hefty lean from G2 over towards the B side. There's no A play. So I think this will end over towards B, and Vic might have an opportunity to strike for a couple of kills. And even Mana, not too far off with his showstopper, can maybe strike for something as well.
This could be a little too obvious though, B-Dog.
I literally think this is just a full exit. Dapper's just lurking towards mid. No, they back away. Maybe putting pressure to draw rotations, which they've done exactly that.
Yeah, at this point, they're just banking on the fact that Shopify have made their rotation back to B. But that's exactly what's happened. They do end up sneaking their way into Elevator. Going to secure themselves a one-man site, and this is going to extend.
No. The spike
even further.
is going back towards the A site here.
But this is a good fake, though.
Yes, they've drawn up the ultimate. I think now is the cue to hit towards the A site. You've known the rotates have come. The showstopper's been drawn. How quick are Shopify to respond here? Well, you've already got a rotate going through. And it puts
they just maintain the mid control. They're not hearing anyone back over towards Heaven. They're not hearing anyone back over towards Spawn. I mean, you just have someone in mid getting all of this information.
Moose by himself on the site. There's 2 trips to work with. 1 on site for him.
Here we go.
Trip's
Just around the corner. Oxy.
There's the Q, and there's Moose to get the frag.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot more work to do. It's a 5v5 still with the revive.
10 seconds left.
Spike goes down, and you have Dapper all the way up top in Heaven. He's got to be big here. He backs away. Here's the players in Elevator. And now we've got a mid advantage leading in G2's favor.
This is crazy. Dapper. He's just going to hold on to the corner. He's going to hold on to ramp. He's going to be the crossfire for the middle of sight, the trap wire. Good job from Dapper, at least having that in the right position. 39 HP. There's no way they check. There's no way they check with the grenade still there. And oh my goodness, the combo ends up working out. 2 players alive. Oxy is the one that has dragged this round back as he got a double kill in screens. Both players are still known. Both players are coming out of ramp. Oxy has the cross, but not anymore. He goes down. The round should be done. And Penny shuts it down entirely.
Huge flick from him in the end. And Oxy with a double towards screens. I mean, the timing between Shopify is great on that retake. Players in screens and ramp trying to work in tandem. You see here on the minimap where those kills come from, and Oxy with a perfectly timed swing as soon as Dapper and Whippy get overwhelmed. Putting G2 in the driver's seat now economically with a chance to reset Shopify here.
Yes, that goes there.
And like I said, way too many rounds left to buy, but I mean, this is it already. Shopify loses the half just with this one round.
Yeah, this is going to be rough. G2 have the showstopper to work with as well. Oxy's posted up towards B. There are trips here to try and slow him down. If that were the case, Shazam nearly gets caught out. There is Oxy. Doesn't hit any of the trips, actually, but he does take decent site control.
It's going to be one player hitting it. But again, these 2 players in the middle of B are just chilling. They're not showing any pixels, waiting for the Heaven rotation to come in to pop some heads, and indeed they do.
Dazzle, good to find one, but Penny and Oxy doing work once more here for G2. That puts it in a 5-on-3. Lesser guns and only 2 flashes to work with for Shopify.
They still don't know about Moose, but Moose, again, just in a position where they can easily compensate for. Moose now in a 1v3, 8 HP left, and he's gone. Oxy, what a round.
Does it again, Oxy. A massive 3-piece from him. And G2 doubling now the score, resetting Shopify. We saw the Guardian get bought up there, but I don't know if there's really that much of a buy left here for the side of Shopify. And there's not. The Guardian's the main gun they've got here.
This goes here.
And G2 are fighting some form now. They're taking control of this first half. These execs are looking clean, the gunfights are being won, and that's sometimes all you can ask for from G2.
I mean, we said it earlier, all 5 of these players with superstar potential, pop-off potential. And if all 5 are fragging the way that they are now, I mean, the win's pretty much secured. Shopify
They found my wire.
running into Dapper here now. It's a couple stingers on the other side. Again, it's these types of rounds where Shopify could definitely give a bit of a fright to G2. And that's exactly what they tried. A triple man swing back over towards A main.
And they stack up an elevator here as well with stingers. If anyone were to pop there, they actually cross into mail as well. So they're stacking back up towards the B side. Oh, that guy don't like to get anything. They don't know. Well, I think they hear the footsteps, but this is going to give Dapper confidence to push up near elevator after hearing the mid play. Dapper's cooking.
He's got all of it.
Who's here to clean, though, for G2?
This is crazy considering the fact that 3 players peaked A main.
Hey, Dapper's a full kit as well. He's got the cam and another trap as well.
He's going to hear this alarm bot. Going to see the Seekers. Going to be in the right spot. Going to wait for the contact. Going to wait for the swings. Dapper with an easy 2K. He does get traded. But at what cost here for Shopify?
Nothing left here for Shopify. They get 1 rifle in their hands. Moose is already gone. Big shots from Vic, but a 1 versus 2 he's got to work with. It's not impossible, but look at the positioning that they've got. They're playing for 1 star. Penny's just playing for his life. He doesn't care about the spike right now. He's just trying to stay alive to give Whippy time.
Yeah, that's the goal. You can see him playing Ring Around the Rosie. Well done, Penny. Good teamwork, Penny. Rolls around and oh my goodness, smack to the face from Vic. No, the self-smoke, the ninja defuse. The Gravwell should come in and indeed it does. Vic gets held back, doesn't take it to half and oh my goodness. Through the smoke, Whippy.
I thought he was going to cook with a gravel that pulls him back the other way. And I would have lost it if he did that, but he doesn't. He just tried to smoke himself off. But yeah, if he gravelled himself back onto the spike, I would have gone berserk. But Shopify. Down 7-3, securing the half is G2. Dapper playing really well there to recognize where the threat is and try and take and capitalize space for his team. Still 1 more buy here for Shopify. They've got 3 ults to work with. Not major ones, not round-changing ones, maybe outside of the res, but G2, what's worked is B, and that's where they go again. The cam will be the early spot this time, though. And I think that they have a star here, a smoke to allow them to walk up. Yeah, exactly that.
Oh, wait, Moose once again.
Makes the
yet another setup that gets broken apart, and yet another setup that gets driven right through for G2, but this actually has separated the team. Moose is standing right in front of 3 players behind a smoke.
Dapper.
Oh, Dazzle.
Dazzle ready for it. I think his Trailblazer knew it was there.
This is it.
And now it's starting to fall apart here. G2 not able to amount numbers. There's a hold here on the B site, isolating and slowing down this kind of play. Puts it on the Whippy.
It's still a 1v3. Difficult to try to overcome. I see the style points, B-Dog. I really do. Still Whippy. Whippy. They haven't spotted him. He was in astral form, and Whippy himself doesn't clear the corner. Big round, though, finally from Shopify. They lose that round. Their economy is in the dirt.
I think it would have been too much to ask for another 1v3 from Whippy in this series. G2, 7-4, leading now at the half, guaranteed. And some ults available to make a exec work. If they want to hit towards... If they want to make a fake, the Cosmic Divide would be perfect for that. And look at the way that Moose is setting up his trips to try and account for this showstopper from Oxy. And we'll see if he actually is able to land him. A little bit slower, just the basic default with Dapper's cages to get A main control.
Yeah, but they hear the Trailblazer.
Oh my god, he's just
they're gonna hear. Yeah, they're gonna hear the alarm. No way, no way! The showstopper actually goes in instead.
They traded it. They traded showstoppers and Oxy won his.
I guess so. Again, they heard so much utility. Shopify I mean, I don't even know how they're even able to slip a player back into A, but G2, they didn't take any of that advantage back into A. Shopify, they're the ones scratching their heads right now.
Now this Cosmic Divide has got me wondering, what the heck are they cooking? Is it B-Dog speeding it out? Dapper's here on alert. It's not cutting anyone's noise. Everyone knows that this isn't a B hit just yet. 2 players here to greet them. Vic to try and punish.
Vic in front of a fully covered wall, fully structured wall. Wow. There goes Shazam. What a jump from Shazam! Shazam picking heads. Shopify running out of chances to get themselves back into this defensive half. Again, for G2, it's just seemed like a game of whack-a-mole every time they're on these takes.
Shazam again with another headshot over the wall.
Why not do it again?
Bro is cooking right now. And it's up to G2, up to Shopify to see if they get anything, but nothing for Moose. 8-4 on the half, and an investor flawless to close it out. G2 with a commanding lead, Gus, heading into this second half. I mean, we know that this map is defender-sided. I think that's kind of just based off of all the maps that we've seen prior to this. I think G2 are in a good spot to close this out here.
Yeah, no, not a terrible spot whatsoever. Again, I was more or less expecting some sort of innovation from Shopify later on in the half, but I mean, realistically speaking, they were just doing a fine job taking on these takes in terms of just holding on to their spots in the back of sites. But again, it would lead into these tight scenarios. It would lead into potentially 1v3 type scenarios where one person's just stuck up in the corner, just waiting for a waterfall of opponents to come out. Overall, just a tough half for Shopify.
It's someone like B-Dog that you want to step up, be the big guy here. Vic losing his fight to Penny will give G2 the man advantage here. They're already rotating. Whippy's just going to try and stay alive here.
Oh, Whippy has a ghost looking for some headshots.
God, Whippy!
There you go, Whippy.
Where did those 2 kills come from?
Aimed in one general direction and the heads just came to him. Very well done for Whippy. Now Moose and B-Dog, they can try to do something insane here. Moose had the off angle, and if B-Dog could hold on to their spot, that one's really possible, but instead, G2 continue their win streak.
That might be all she wrote here. G2 in a dominant position to close out this series. I think if you're Shopify, you're wondering, how do we respond? Do we risk a force? It doesn't look like they will. They did get the spike plant down, so I don't think it's outlandish to say they might want to go for a buy, but they elect to just save. And G2, 5 Spectre pickup. And this is a G2 that, from the first map, we played really good on their first half, right?
Yeah.
And the second half slowed down quite a bit. Now that's the question. Do G2 slow down here? Does Oxy keep the same board? Bro is 18-9 right now. He's got. I mean, where's
that individual effort? You know what I mean? Where is B-Dog? Where is Mata? Again,
sometimes that's really all you need from a side like G2, and sometimes that's what it takes to beat a team like G2. The individual abilities. And right now, Shopify have none of that, I think, going for them. At least in the second half.
I mean, it's been a season of really of one tail for Shopify. Always, in almost every game they play, they always have one pop-off performance. It's been a mixture between B-Dog, Moose, Vic, and Mata. But the rest of the team not able to put the puzzle pieces together, especially in practice against some of these overwhelming takes.
Ooh, Trailblazer caught at least 1 or 2 players, and I think, you know, with these guns that Shopify have, there's a real possibility that G2 can get overwhelmed in this A site, especially with no util left over. Oxy's got 2 blast packs, and they're trying to sell a fake here as well, and it's not worked yet. Oxy's still here. I thought he was going to rotate. What a grab well. Perfect time. Perfect time.
10 seconds left.
Whippy can just cook on his own there. He was just listening the whole time, waiting for the right opportunity to pull out that grab well.
Enemy remaining.
Indeed, there you go. G2 I mean, they picked up Whippy for a reason.
Hey, what the heck?
I did not think that nade would be the one to kill him.
Yeah. Downtown, Oxy gets 1. That's 10 on the board for G2. Shopify, with everything to play for really in this round, no cash left over after this if they lose.
Yeah.
That puts G2 probably onto match point.
Oh, this is a nice spot.
For Shopify, they're going to play more or less the same style that we saw at G2. A little modified, though. They are going to throw a little bit more of a fake over towards A than you would expect. Just going to keep the Sentinel on that side. Going to keep Moose there. That's pretty important. Forcing the attention from 2 players back over towards a ramp with just a single guiding light. They are going to reveal themselves already, though. The Trailblazer is going to be fully spotted. They're going to know. And mid is being taken up once again by the same players who are over towards A main. They're going to split that attention.
They break the wall here as well. Look at the way that Oxy and Shazam have prepped themselves. They've given up ramp entirely. There's a chance that those 2 players sitting in the elevator get flanked on. And that's a real possibility here with Moose creeping up. Everyone on Shopify is leaning towards the A side. And this is a retake setup. They're going to try to retake Heaven. G2, that's the main focus. Retake Heaven and maybe the retake can work here.
Yeah, Shazam's going to be ready with the flash. You'll already have the Astra here just to control this space. There goes a flash. Here comes Moose. Moose with nothing. Everyone else is over in A. Now it's a man advantage for G2.
Oxy has a nade here as well to clear that corner. 2 players out already. That's a perfect nade. It takes him out.
Yeah, Vic in the middle of a hailstorm, though. Here comes a 3v3. Shazam!
No damage
from a 3v3 to a 1v3.
And B-Dog is just in the back sight. What does he do here?
They're all going to peek in front of him, though. He has a wall behind him. Here we go, B-Dog! Oh my goodness!
That was close. Nearly had something delivered for us.
That was the win that we were expecting for a while, though.
And that's what you, maybe not expecting, but yeah, after the 2 kills from Shaz, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
With G2 putting themselves on 11, not fully killing Shopify just yet to get on the 12. I think the plant literally just barely keeps his team alive, especially with the loss bonus maximized.
1 enemy remaining.
But Shopify, this could really be the final stand.
It really is. I mean, I already thought that the last round would pretty much be it, and they would be saving this round. They're putting all of their cash into it.
And they're all going towards the A site.
Anything crazy? Mata? Anything?
Slow start.
That's for sure.
Ooh,
oh my god!
Whippy.
What do you even do? What do you do at that point?
Damage onto Dazzle as well, catching him vulnerable, nearly taking him out. That's Shazam again. Don't overextend here. There's a chance that Shazam gets a little bit more. He's got backup as well.
Smart.
Penny.
Good stuff, Shazam. He heard you. Oxy, however, all the way out in the open.
I know.
All the way in the open of the platform, getting taken down. There's a spike. Man advantage here for G2. Moose is gonna try to come up once again. Just another game of whack-a-mole and another easy peasy play for Shazam.
Absolutely delivering there. Nothing you can do there if you are G2. Or apologies, Shopify. Just walking over, peeking into him. He's got an answer for every single one of them, and it's a bullet to the head. Now, 1 more round, and G2 top the groups, and I think they'll place themselves 3rd overall in the group stage.
Again,
Oxy,
if they were to lose this game, that's a difference of 5 circuit points.
Blast back, showstopper, Judge, Gravwell flash as well. No. He's taking it all.
Here you go. He's on the hunt, and he's not going to find anything. But over towards B and mid, it's a bit of a trap. Shazam could pull out a flash at any minute. There's a wall up in heaven, and Dapper has the one-way.
The camera breaks and he pops the one-way, and he instantly gets one.
There goes a shot. Penny getting pressured out. That nade right behind him.
Jazz
actually forced to push up. Penny getting his attention split, but Shazam is there just at the right time. Moose 1v5 and an investor flawless closes it out. G2 G2, a 4-1 season, puts them in top 3 going into playoffs.
And they dominate here against Shopify Rebellion. From start to finish, from map 1 to map 2, this was a G2 game. And there's not much else you can say about it. Oxy had a banger of a series, let's be honest here. At 18 kills, first half of Split, 16 kills, first half of Icebox. What more could you ask from this guy? Fuck. We knew this game was we had a feeling this was going the way of G2, but this was just utter dominance from the man.
Honestly, this is what G2 should have done map 1. They had a hard lead and they kind of let Shopify back into the game a little bit, and that's not to discount what Shopify did. It's just the reality of the situation is that Shopify started to steal some rounds away that probably they didn't need to. A little bit of what we call like the garbage rounds towards the tail end of a game. But this is G2 just keeping their foot on the gas pedal and continuing with the dominance they set forward in the first half. It was 8-4 on the attacking side of Split, an incredibly powerful performance from G2, and this is the G2 that I think a lot of people expected coming into the group stages in general. They're a strong team, and this was a way to put an exclamation point on the end of the Split as well. So hats off to them here. Sully, they looked fantastic.
Yeah, I have to say, from the worries that we had from last week, I feel a good chunk of them are dispelled. One of my worries was Oxy. How is he going to play going into the MSF? Didn't have the best game against Turtle Troops. His stats were abysmal compared to what he's been able to do. But I think after this series, my confidence is restored. Your guys' confidence should be restored as well. I have to say, G2 are looking really sharp going into it, at least individually.
Important note, too. So now they finished the season, and we'll deal with this at the end of the show, I promise. They finished the season with a 4-1 record. With the way they won that series, they actually finished above TSM because TSM had a +7 round differential coming into today. So I'm not sure how that changes matchups because, again, there were so many moving pieces coming into today that it's almost impossible to be certain, but it obviously has an effect. And honestly, I mean, Gus, we look at the way that Shopify played their season. It's definitely a disappointing end for a team that we had high hopes for coming in.
I mean, they're the only invited team not to make playoffs. Just from a managerial perspective, from a player's perspective, yeah, it's a disappointment. But there's 2 splits for a reason, and actually the second split is more valuable in terms of points. Again, Shopify, they're not the type of team to make, player changes. It's been, it's been, I want to say like 6-7 months since Vic has been on the roster, and the last roster move before that was a full calendar year ago. So it's really down to this team now on whether or not they want to restructure things and really change their look going into the next stage. Because again, you being in the bottom 3 of this tournament, especially when a team just last week took down G2 overwhelmingly, y'all didn't put up that great of a fight. So at this point, again, maybe some readjustments may need to be made in the offseason.
We'll see what they decide to do. We're going to go ahead and throw things to a break. We'll be jumping into the post-match interview, but first, the post-match highlights and a word from one of our sponsors. We'll see you in just a bit. Investor is the official proud partner of the Knights. Investor helps everyone invest smarter with fantasy finance, where you learn to invest in real time with a virtual portfolio of $1 million. You can take advantage of Investor's free academy with 10 modules of jargon-free lessons written by experts. Game on pks.gg/pbkcc. Again, that's pks.gg/pbkcc. Please remember that investing puts your capital at risk and can lead to losses. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome back to the desk here for the Knights Arena Valorant Challengers North America. It's time for our final interview of the group stages here for the first split, and we'll bring in one of the members of G2 after they picked up a win that puts them in a pretty favorable position with the standings coming into the mid-season face-off. We're speaking of Dapper, a player who has a tremendous amount of history in both Valorant and previous TAC FPS, and I've been pleased to be a part of some of that history. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you so much.
I gotta ask, you guys came into the group stages highly praised, despite the fact that you hadn't played a single match. Obviously, there's a lot of pedigree behind the names. You have a lot of history with some of your teammates. Do you think you met the expectations?
I think we've been doing really well with keeping up with them. Obviously, we would have liked to like 5-0 and get first seed going into playoffs, but you know, I can't complain. We got first seed in our group, and now just kind of like knuckling down, fixing our mistakes throughout the split, and yeah, winning MSI, and then hopefully, you know, winning again and winning and win.
Of course, winning. No, goal number one. You mentioned mistakes. Let's take a step back and look at last week. Obviously, things didn't go the way you guys would have liked them to, as you lost to Turtle Troop in somewhat surprising fashion. Was that a nice reminder that no team can be underestimated?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things, a whole bunch of like mistakes on our part, underestimating, maybe getting a little complacent in like scrimmage, trying new things that like led to us kind of getting demolished. But I do think that losing does like center you back. It's like, okay, it's like a wake up call. So yeah, it could be viewed as a good thing, since we've still, even with the loss, we still got like the maximum points. So yeah.
Looking at your opponent, you even touched upon it in a video piece we watched before the series. You obviously have a ton of history with Dazzle and Moose, going back to that old E-United roster. Did that help you as much as you expected it to coming into today? Not even just your history playing with them, but playing against them as that former LG, now Shopify roster?
I try not to like think about how people used to play, because the meta is shifting so like frequently, and I honestly haven't played an official against them since like LCQ, when we had like Shroud on Sentinels. So yeah, the game changed a lot since then. So I try not to like go into it too much. It's more of like, honestly, I think it hurts me because I'm like the lurker, and I could tell in like the last map, Dazzle Will was like really on my ass and like knew I was gonna do some like ratty things. So yeah.
Looking at this year, it feels like Challengers is definitely, there's a lot of storylines about redemption. You see a lot of players coming in from VCT last year that maybe didn't meet the expectations of that player, or the teams, even looking specifically at Shopify as an example. Do you feel that same way for yourself and some of your teammates?
Yeah, I mean, it's always, I feel like it's actually kind of good on like a confidence standpoint and like a mentality standpoint to kind of put yourself in like an underdog perspective. Like, oh, you know, for whatever reason, I have to prove myself again. And, you know, for some people that motivates them. I think for me personally, I always want to like perform to the highest level. I always want to like compete at the highest level. So this is kind of like the stepping stone to getting there. So yeah, I think I would say it's like a redemption arc.
All right, this last question comes from the fan zone. If you guys have been watching at home, there's still time to join the fan zone, because we've still got so much more action coming their way. pks.gg/fan zone. This one basically is, what's it like to have a strong fan base? That one comes from Manasi. What is it like having all these people supporting you?
Yeah, honestly, it feels great, since I came from CS, where I was like the most unknown person ever. So I know like how it feels when you have no fans, and I love the support. And I love, honestly, everything about it. There is some bad things. You have some haters or people that just like people that just make fun of you just because like you have fans, and they just want to be like, you know, the odd one out. But yeah, it feels great, and thank you for all the support, everybody that follows me.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I knew who you were when you played CS, Mike. I was there by your side.
Yeah, we go
don't
way
worry, you did have
back.
some people. Yeah, we go back to when you
back.
played your first LAN and did not do so well. I could bring it up, and I'm not going to shame you. Congratulations on the win. Good luck moving forward into the mid-season face-off.
Thank you. It's really nice to talk to you again. Have a good one.
Likewise, bud. All right, let's go ahead and bring back our casters. I'll reel them in for a second. I'm doing some sort of weird dance. I don't really know what this is. It's late, and it's been a long split, but we do finally get to close out things. And now we get to see how things play out, because we'll finally get confirmation of seeding across the groups, and then seeding coming into the mid-season face-off. Because, Sully, we've been talking about it all day. Up until like this week, we were still asking questions about where these teams were going to land.
Yeah, still a lot of question marks because I haven't looked at it yet. I want to enjoy the surprise with everyone else at home, but I think the way things have turned out, G2 are definitely in a pretty favorable spot. FaZe just barely qualify, and then of course Oxygen maximizing their potential as well from the point standings.
Let's go ahead and pull up the group standings just so you can see the teams that we will see facing off here in the mid-season face-off. You can see the groups and the way they break down. FaZe sent out some sort of prayer. I don't know what ritual they did, but ultimately Turtle Troop comes up just a little bit short in their series against Oxygen. Despite the strong showing, Turtle Troop will not be making it to the mid-season face-off, and instead FaZe, who had their fate taken out of their hands, is thankful that they get that opportunity. So they will come in as the number 4 seed. Oxygen, surprising a lot of people with a 3-2 record. I guess you could say the same for Moist Moguls. A lot of the teams over in Group A, it felt like they were going to be fighting for that 4th spot, as it seemed like FaZe and Shopify should have had a really strong stage, but Moist, Oxygen, and even Turtle Troop really stepped up over there, Sully.
Yeah, I have to say, like, the biggest disappointments for me are FaZe just barely scraping through, not something I think a lot of people expected, and then Shopify and Turtle Troop, I hate to see either of them go. I think Shopify have a lot of things to work on, but Turtle Troop, man, I've been thoroughly enjoying their gameplay these past 3 weeks. I'm really sad to see them not make the mid-season face-up, but I do have a lot of faith that that team in particular is going to come back even stronger for Split 2.
Now, looking over at Group B, even though things were decided coming into the week, there were still implications. Seeding could have changed. Things could have shifted in a variety of ways. But Gus, looking over there, we ended up with what we thought we would at the beginning of the season. M80 and the Guard, number 1 and number 2.
Absolutely, but actually, today's results has kind of shaken up things a little bit. Turtle Troop didn't have the close enough game that they really needed to have, just for those extra little circuit points. Disguise going into today had a big chance of actually getting knocked down to the bottom 9 in terms of circuit points. But actually, Turtle Troop are just where they're supposed to be in that 5th place, or at least at -10 below Disguise. But yeah, for Group B, this season at least, I was really looking towards TSM and seeing how much impact, how much they would actually really be competing against M80 and the Guard, and very thoroughly surprised with how they did. Very good wins, very convincing wins against the other 3 teams in their group. I think overall, the top 3 of Group B are some of the top teams in North America, period. And I think in playoffs, we're going to see that a whole lot more.
All right, well, it's time to bust out your dictionaries, your thesaurus, your monocles, all your smart people stuff, because we're going to go over the standings from Split 1 and just explain how everything's going to break down, because I know it can be a little bit confusing. When we take a look at the Split 1 final standings, this is for circuit points. Important note to make, not necessarily for how things shake down into the playoffs. So just looking at this at face value, you've got M80 and the Guard, G2, TSM, Moist Moguls, Oxygen, Esports, FaZe, Disguise, Turtle Troop, all of the teams in their respective order. And it pretty much lays out as one would anticipate. But when we take a look at the bracket, we will get an appreciation for who will be playing whom. And it's going to be a painful couple of first matches for some of these teams, because we've got M80 facing off against that last seed in Disguised. That one's going to sting, as it's already a group stage rematch. We saw them play against one another. The Guard has to face off against FaZe. Things going to look a little bit painful here, Gus.
Yeah, just a little bit, but we have a lot of matchups to be very excited about. First of all, G2 versus Oxygen. Thank you so much that we get this rematch, because a 1v4 was what decided that game and what led for that comeback for G2. Yes, it was a 2-0 win, but Oxygen, they were cooking, and it was only the first week of Split. They weren't honestly caught up with that map, and we finally do get our bracket.
Hey, you know what? This looks like a really banger of a bracket, because we could get an M80 TSM rematch. We could get a Disguised upset, a team that I feel didn't live up to expectations that a lot of people had for them. So I'm liking the way this bracket is looking out, man. We got the group leaders from both sides having a chance to face off. Could get a Guard G2, which I think a lot of people would love to see. FaZe versus G2 again. A lot of spicy matchups, I think, getting cooked up here in the first round of the upper bracket. And then, I mean, I'm going to be so interested to see who gets dropped to the lower bracket, because this is the midpoint. Where do these teams stand? How are they coming into Split 2? How are they coming out of Split 1? A lot of questions, and I think, you know, I'm looking at this. I'm just super hyped for next week.
I mean, you got potentially an M80 guard matchup in your upper bracket final, which is one that I think a lot of people would expect to see. But I mean, you've got a TSM versus M80 rematch here for TSM. You've got G2 potentially facing off against the guard. So you see the top seed from Group A against a team that was coming into this one as potentially the top seed expectation, even though they finished as number 2. TSM has had the hot hand over the last couple of weeks, so we'll see what they're able to do against M80. After all, they did beat the guard, who's the number 2 team, and the guard beat M80. Chain logic never fails. So there's a world where one of these teams, potentially M80, the guard, TSM, ends up in the lower bracket earlier than expected. But it will be interesting to see how things play out. I am excited to jump into this mid-season face-off because now we get that cross-group of possibilities. All the matchups we've been wanting to see that we haven't seen throughout the split because we've had teams across groups, we'll now get to see them play out throughout that playoff bracket. But that is the end of the group stage. 5 weeks, and we've come to a conclusion. A few teams have been eliminated, and unfortunately, they will be watching until the second split begins. But we've got our top 8 teams who will be competing across the next 2 weeks to see who will be the best in challengers ultimately for the first split before we commence that second split. On behalf of us and the production, we thank you guys for watching throughout the group stages. We will see you next week for the mid-season face-off.
One enemy remaining. Stay down.
I got no complications clouding up my life. Oh, I'm so done with waiting, gonna let me shine.
One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining.
I'm gonna get what's mine.
Enemy kill.
Gotta keep on pushing, believing in myself. In my head of the best.
Spike down mid. One enemy remaining. Clutch. One enemy remaining. Spike down mid. Spike planted. One enemy remaining. Spike down. One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. One down. One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining.
Put down.
One enemy remaining. Left. Headshot. One enemy remaining.
I know exactly where.
One enemy remaining.
Hate triggered.